By now, I'm sure you've heard about Parler, the pro-Trump social network that's popular among far-right circles. Well, Apple and Google removed Parler from their app stores, saying it had not sufficiently policed its users' posts, allowing too many that incited violence and crime. Soon after, Amazon banned Parler from its web hosting service due to repeated violations of Amazon's rules. So, how did a social network that was one of the most downloaded apps in the App Store lose its foundation within a day? Let's start with the basics. What is Parler? According to its website and previous App Store description, Parler is unbiased social media and a place where people can speak freely and express yourself openly without fear of being deplatformed for your views. It has become increasingly popular among Trump supporters and even some conservative politicians and media personalities. The app was downloaded 9.6 million times in 2020, mostly due to the presidential election. Remember that? During the election, Facebook, Twitter, and other social networks started cracking down on misinformation, which ultimately upset conservatives and led them to start claiming that their voices have been disproportionately censored. Both platforms banned Trump from using their services following the violent insurrection of the Capitol that he encouraged.
We're going to walk down to the Capitol and we're going to cheer on our brave senators and congressmen and women, and we're probably not going to be cheering so much for some of them, because you'll never take back our country with weakness. You have to show strength and you have to be strong.
Instead of backing down, many Trump supporters spoke out against big tech's efforts to slow the spread of misinformation by encouraging others to open Parler accounts. Why Parler over Twitter? Because Parler prides itself off an explicit hands-off approach to content moderation, which is exactly what these people are looking for. This caused a bunch of conservatives to follow these voices onto the network, and that is how Parler climbed to the top charts of the Apple and Android app stores. Well, until they were banned, of course. This brings me to my next point. Why is it so problematic? Well, Parler is filled with misinformation, for starters. It's basically a hub for Trump-backed conspiracy theories that cast doubt on the election of President Biden. If that's not scary enough, the Anti-Defamation League says accounts with swastikas as their profile pictures and disgusting racist posts are readily available on Parler. They also note that Holocaust denial, anti-Semitism, racism, and other forms of bigotry are also easy to find. What's truly terrifying is that Parler is not just a place for people to share their extreme right opinions, but it's also readily used to incite real violence. How? By organizing and recruiting people for Trump events like the Million MAGA March and the siege of the Capitol in Washington, D.C. Some posts even call for direct threats of violence toward Mike Pence and other politicians. So you must be thinking, who the heck is behind all of this? Meet Parler CEO John Mates, who, in a post on Parler, said, "This was a coordinated attack by the tech giants to kill competition in the marketplace. We were too successful, too fast." Reactions to this post included discussing violence against Amazon, with one person posting, "It would be a pity if someone with explosives training were to pay a visit to some AWS data centers." The next day, Mates appeared on Fox News and offered a less optimistic tone.
Every vendor from text message services to email providers to our lawyers all ditched us too on the same day.
What comes next for Parler, you ask? Well, right now they're virtually homeless on the internet until they find a new hosting provider, which doesn't seem likely. In the meantime, what else is there to do other than filing a lawsuit whenever you lose? Sound familiar, anyone? That's right, you guessed it. Parler filed a lawsuit against Amazon Web Services in the U.S. District Court for the Western District of Washington for what they claim is violating their contract and acting out of bias. So what do you guys think? Will this help combat the spread of misinformation? Are these tech companies just finally realizing that some of their platforms are directly contributing to large acts of violence and domestic terrorism? Let us know in the comments below. I'm Lindsay Tanney with YR Media.